a deck of cards, 52 pieces of card. I know as magicians we always say that, I don't know why. But here's 52 playing cards, and this week we're going to look at a commercial version called JAACAAN, which stands for just another any card at any number. Quite an interesting play on the letters, but it's called the JAACAAN trick, and it's been around for many years. And again, just like my favourite, which was on the previous video, which was the Stephen Tucker version, I love this one, and I have to be honest, this is probably the one that I've performed the most over the years. Let me give you a quick performance of this, just so you can see exactly what it is we're going to be doing here. A deck of cards. Welcome to this particular trick, and I'm going to get the audience to help me on this one. So I'm going to leave those there. In fact, let's just get the cards out. They are just a regular deck, no cards in the box. Okay, 52. I don't think there's any jokers in there. Nope, but we'll leave those there. Now, I'm going to ask you, sir, to help me, and I'd like you to give me any number between 1 and 52. 18. Okay, that's fine, but that was a free choice. Okay, I'm then going to come to you, sir, and ask you to think of a card. In fact, just to help you, let me just show you some of the cards. Have you got one? You have. That's good. You're now thinking of a particular card. What was the card that you're thinking of? The 5 of clubs. Okay, no, that's fine. You can have that. Now, what I'm going to do is talk about things that are random, and we've done 2 random things today. We first of all picked a number, 1 to 52, and you chose, was it 17? No, it was 18. Yes, sorry, it's the little grey cells not working, but 18. And I then turned to you, and you didn't take a card, you actually thought of a card. So inside your head you saw this one card floating around. What was the card that you were thinking of? The 5 of clubs. 2 random things. I'm going to pick up the cards and I'm going to deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Here's the 18th card. It just happens to be the 5 of clubs. If you had chosen a smaller number, you had these. If you had chosen a higher number, you had something like that. But it is an absolute free choice, and there is possibly the perfect ACAAN. Actually, the trick you've just seen, the JAACAAN, that's what it looks like in what we class as the ideal scenario. Now, as you're probably well aware, when dealers are demonstrating on trailer videos their new trick, they always perform the perfect outcome. However, just to be fair, I want to show you what if it wasn't a perfect scenario. Let's see the performance again. Hi and welcome to this very special presentation here. I've got a deck of cards here. Let's just take a look just to make sure that there's none left in the box. To see if there's any jokers. Nope, we're okay there. Now what I'm going to do is to get 2 of you in the audience to help me out today. You, sir, if I can choose you, it's okay, you don't need to leave your seat, you can stay where you are. And what I'd like you to do is to give me any number between 1 and 52. 25. 25, that's fine, you stick to that. 25. I'm then going to come over to you, sir, and I'm going to ask you to give me a card. In fact, just to help you out, if I go through the card, just have a look. Have you got one? The 10 of hearts. Yeah? You're happy with that? Now, of course, in a moment, I'm not going to get myself to deal the cards unless you want me to. Either of you can deal the cards, but not face up like this. Okay? actually deal them face down. Yeah, that'd be the best thing. Okay, let's just see what's happened here. What I'd like to just recap on is that you, sir, chose a random number. It could have been any number, but you went for 25, sorry, the little grey cells. 25, but it was a free choice. I then said to you, sir, think of a card, don't take one physically, actually mentally select one, and you went for the 10 of hearts. You certainly did. Do either of you want to deal the cards? It's your choice. Or if you trust me and you want to watch me very closely, I'm quite happy to deal them. You want me to deal? Okay, that's fine. You said 25, didn't you? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There's the 25th card, and there it is, the 10 of hearts. As clean as that. If you'd gone further on, you'd have had maybe this one, and if you'd had an earlier number, you'd have had a lower heart. Okay, so the trick you've just seen performed a couple of times over is this one called the JAACAAN. As I say, it's quite an old trick. In fact, I can't remember when it first came out, so I don't know whether it says in here. 92, first published 92. So it's quite an old variation, and what I like about this, there's just one number, 13. That's the magic number, and you're probably saying why? Well, it's the magic number because of the way the deck is. First of all, let me talk about the deck. The deck itself is a trick deck. It's only made up of 13 playing cards, and they're repeated 4 times over. And if I show you these, I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if this can come out. I got King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There they are there. They're then repeated again and again and again. There's 4 of those blocks. So really, you can now see that when I showed the spectator the cards, they were only seeing a handful of 13 cards, not 52. Now, I know some magicians are often paranoid that someone may spot the duplication. To be honest, I've done this probably since about 98, 99, and I've never had a problem with it. It's different if I'm performing in front of other magicians, but most lay people, from my experience, know very little about playing cards, especially nowadays with modern technology. How many people do you know use packs of cards? Most of my friends and family have got one pack of cards with an elastic band around it in their kitchen drawer, and they're all grubby, and they come out maybe once a year, maybe even longer than that. And I find that a lot of people struggle to even know what the cards are. So when you flash the cards like that, it's a regular deck. There you go. All they see is an array of different colours, blacks and reds, and pictures and spots and things like that. That's it. They don't make a big deal of it. When I show the spectator, I just hold a clump and just literally go through a few. Because you're doing it fairly rapidly, they will make a quick decision. And that's what I've found. So as I go through like that, normally they just make a rash decision on which card they want. If you don't feel comfortable showing these, you could always get them to either cut the cards or even ask them to take a card like that. Let's go through some parts of the routine. First of all, you ask for a number. Now, again, within reason, it can't be the first 4 or the last 4 cards, and the reason for that is because what they've done is they've added 4 random cards that don't appear in the pack. Okay, that allows you to flash the first few, or when you turn them over, they're not going to see the card they thought of in that stack there. But again, I think we've mentioned this before in other ACAAN tricks, you don't really want people choosing 1, 2 or 3 right near the top or right at the bottom. You tend to encourage them to pick between those numbers. From my experience, I don't think anyone's ever chosen those numbers, I think most of them have gone between the 20s and 30s in my experience. So they choose a number. Now if we go for the number, let's first of all, on the first one we did, it was an ideal situation because they chose the 5 of clubs and they chose number 18, okay, a card at position 18. Now this is the deal, and I'm going to try and get some visuals up on the screen for this, animated visuals, but the idea is 13 is the magic number. If you can add 13, then you're almost there. It's that simple. There's no kind of thinking I've got to deduct 7 from 9 and times 12, none of that. It's 13. It won't be anything other than 13. Let me show you what I mean. If we just visualise on the screen here, over here we've got where we're starting from, yeah, position 0, and over here is the number they've given us, which in this case was 18. Now the idea is you've got to get, it's almost like a step ladder, you've got to get from here as close to 18 as you can, but only adding 13. In fact, multiples of 13. Now as a starting point you take the value of the card. Now they chose the 5 of clubs, so at this point I've moved 5 positions up. Then in my head I know I'm on 5, I then add 13, that's it. Because at the moment 5 is where I am, 18 is where I've got to get, that's my finish post. It's like being in a race. So when I add 13 to 5, I get 18. Perfect. Now that's an ideal situation, because if that happens, you don't have to touch the deck at all. And really sell this, because it looks fantastic, as you probably saw on the first performance. But let's look at the second performance that wasn't an ideal scenario. They chose a card, the 10 of hearts. They then gave us a number of 25. Visualise inside your head, you haven't got to do any complicated mathematics. Visualise in your head this step ladder. You're at the beginning, okay? You've got to get to 25. That's the end post, okay? Well, you can already jump to 10 because that's the value of your card, the 10 of hearts. So you're on step 10. I'm still too far away from 25. Now I add 13 to this, add 13, which will be another 13 on there, will give me 23. Now I'm not on 25, I'm a couple away from it. As I said, you haven't got to get to the card, you've got to get as close to. It'd be ideal if you get on it, but if you don't, it doesn't matter if you go slightly above or below when you add 13 on. That's it. So we're below it by 2 because we land on 23, we should have got to 25. So there's a difference of 2, simple as that. Now all that tells me is that 2 cards have got to be moved. How do I know whether they get moved from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top? Quite simple. Actually, it does it itself. Because I'm below the magic number 25, I'm on step 23. I'm below the chosen number. That tells me that 2 cards have to come from below the deck. So I take 2 cards from the bottom and put them on the top. Now, in other card routines that have to move cards, they normally have the cards in the box and they tip them out and hold some back, etc. To be honest, what I do here is, as you saw in the performance, first of all, I never hold the cards throughout the routine, and they're very thrown casually on the table. So because I know I've got to move 2 cards from the bottom to the top, what I do is quite open. I say, I tell you what guys, I'm going to get you to deal some cards, but I don't want you to deal them face up like this, okay? Actually deal the cards face down. Now, did you see what I did there? Very casually, I transferred 2 cards from the bottom to the top. Now, again, I'm sure you magicians out there that can do these secret moves, you might even prefer to do that. Okay. So we're all done. When I now count, and this is where I can relax, because now that's done, the rest of it is performance. It was automatic at this point. It will become the 10 of hearts. Now, the cards are dealt face down. Because the cards are in a particular order, then I don't deal with them face up. I suppose you could try, but I think people see that. So deal them face down, and that's it. Now, as I said, the magic number is 13. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but just very quickly, keep this video short, otherwise you'll drift off. But just very quickly, when you get a higher number, let's say for example that they chose the 10 of hearts, but they chose 35. Okay, so they chose 35. Now, 35 is a much bigger number, so what you do, think of that visualization in your head again. I'm at 0, I've got to get to 35. I'm already on 10 because that was the value of the card, 10. Remember the Jack, Queen, King is 11, 12, 13. So I'm on 10. Now remember I said the magic number is 13. So I add 13 on, that takes me to 23. Okay. I've got to add another 13 because I'm too far away. I'm on 23. I've got to get to 35. I'm too far away, so I have to add another 13. Okay. Now adding another 13 to 23 is going to give me 36. So I'm now 36. Remember my number that the person called out was 35. That means I've gone over by 1. So I'm on 36. So there's a 1 card difference. And because I went above the chosen number, that means I take the 1 card difference above from the top and put it to the bottom. Now let's just try this. If I put this to the bottom, okay, and again I would just do a demonstration. Like, what I want you to do is don't deal the card face up like that, deal it face down. Simple as that. They can then deal the cards. Remember they chose 35. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. And there it is. It works every time. It is worth, if you can get hold of this, I'm not sure if it's still available, but sometimes crops up on the internet, check that out. I think it's great because you only ever add 13 on. And if you think about it, there's only 3 of them, either 13, 26 or 39. That's all you've got to add on and it works itself. And that's the JAACAAN. Just before we finish on the JAACAAN, just want to mention on the performance a couple of things that work really well in magic. You may have noticed on both performances, when I get a spectator to give me a number, when I go back to that number, I miscall it and I pretend I forgot. So when they gave me the number of 18, when I come back to them and said, look, you gave me a random number, you said 17. Now, this does 2 things. First of all, the audience will jump at you to correct you. No, he didn't choose 17, he chose 18. And you just pretended you forgot, you know, the brain cells are going, etc, etc. But what that does, 2 things. First of all, they either think you've messed the trick up, if the number played an important part, or secondly, the number doesn't really matter, and that's the illusion it gives. So it can work really well. Also works when you miscall cards as well, deliberately. It looks as though you've got it wrong. Okay, so that was the first little subtlety that we added. The other one was, remember the spectator, sometimes when you're showing spectators cards, you want to give the illusion that they merely thought of a card. Okay, just like we did in this JAACAAN, that I gave the illusion that they thought of it, because from that point on, once they'd chosen their card, I never mentioned about you took a card, you saw a card, you viewed a card. I kept saying you mentally selected in your head, random 52 cards, you mentally selected that card. Of course they didn't, they picked one from 13. But it does work well, and if you can do that, because when the audience walk away, 2 weeks down the line when they're talking to their friends, they say, do you know what, I saw this magician and he got this guy just to pick a card out the air in his head, any 52 cards. They seem to have forgotten that I flashed the cards to him to choose one. Just a little note on two little subtleties that work very well in magic. On all of these performances, we do like to do a couple of ACAAN tricks, and this one is a very simplistic one. Now, if you're pretty brazen in your presentation style, you'll get away with this. I call this one a bit of a cheeky ACAAN. Why? Well, watch, see what you think. You can borrow a pack of cards if you like, get them shuffled. Yeah. You then ask the spectator to call stop, and you ask them to take a look at the card. Okay, so they think of a card. You then shuffle the pack before the next part, and you say to them, I've now shuffled the cards, your card could be anywhere in there. I want you to give me a number between 1 and 52. Now they have any choice of number. Let's say, for argument's sake, 12. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You're going to be absolutely amazed at this. Look, your card is at the 12th position there. Is that your card? It is. Yes. Now remember, you could have had any of these cards here, but you chose one that was about a quarter of the way in the pack. There it is there, the Ace of Spades in the 12th position. This particular routine, do you know what? When I was first shown this, probably about 20 years ago, one, I was blown away by it. You know, it was at a party and it was fantastic, and this one, it really did surprise me. And when I was told by the magician that performed it how it worked, I didn't believe it. And I always said to him, you'll never get away with it. And so I tried it a few times over the following weeks, and it worked. I couldn't believe it. Okay, it's so in your face. And you watching this video are probably saying, I saw it, but you're magicians, you're watching for things. I'm going to spend 30 seconds explaining this because it is that simple. You have a card chosen, okay, you have to work it to the top. Okay, so work the card to the top, so if that's their card, just get it to the top anyhow you like. But you do point out you've now shuffled the cards, give a number. Now, this is the cheeky part. If they said 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 cards, and you kind of move your hands around and you blatantly turn the pack over, show them there at the 10th position. But this is kind of a little added part to it that convinces them even more. What I do is I slide the face card, their card, off onto the pack, and I immediately fan the cards, and I say you could have had any of these 9 cards, and I flip these over so that it really does look convincing that their card is a little bit from the top. It really is the 10th card down. And I know it looks so obvious, but if ever you're at a loss at a party for doing tricks, give it a go, and trust me, it works really well, and that's called the cheeky ACAAN. Until the final part 5, have fun with these, comment, subscribe, really appreciate it. And I'll see you back for part 5 and the final of looking for the perfect ACAAN.